research team has just found a terrifying anomaly above Indigenous monument. Shockingly, this anomaly was found by accident during an experiment in the Skinwalker ranch. They went out to the mesa, where straight-shot drillers Aaron Blunt and his team were getting set to continue a major new study. Their plan is to drill down through the dome-shaped anomaly and reach the vertical object that lies behind it. Thus, they started their exploration from above the structure. Our will helped them form a more complete picture of the nature of the force in our world. A strange temperature terrifying anomaly was found above Indigenous monument was caused by this experiment. The beacon was inserted into the ground alongside the bit, and the locator was stationed at the peak of the mesa. As a result, the locator will receive a signal indicating its depth, location, and movement direction. Therefore, they will know precisely where the bit is at all times. Throughout the drilling procedure, they consulted their spectrum analyzer to determine the origin of various energy signatures. The beacon, comprised of the 33 MHz signal from the drill beacon, was set up, and subsequent monitoring for fluctuations suggested the presence of some phenomenon. When they noticed whatever was dragging the drill upward, the bit of the drill was only approximately 40 feet below where they were standing. The drill was being pulled upward by something. In addition to this, they considered the previous year and saw that there was a barrier to overcome. They changed the angle of the drill and tried to stop the force that was pulling him upward, but the drill continued to lift him to higher and higher positions. Something quite similar to what they went through the previous year, except this time in the opposite direction. Following that, they started to consider the possibility that this time they weren't at the bottom of it, but rather at the top of it instead. Then, seemingly out of nowhere, they came up against a roadblock. There was a noise that sounded like the drill was striking something significant. The drill was able to effortlessly cut through 270 or 280 feet of sandstone before reaching a barrier that it was unable to break through. They were seeking for a beacon signal, and they found one at 33 MHz, which was the same frequency at which they had previously found other activity. Something was completely out of one's control at that moment. They were suspicious when they noticed a light coming from the drill bit, which indicated that something was wrong. I also noticed that the 3 peaks that are located on either side of the hole were not present prior to the drill bit coming into contact with whatever it was that was preventing it from going any further. They decided on a strategy in which the driller would press up against it, pull back, push it up against it, pull back, and so on, until something intriguing happened, at which time they would investigate it more. The heightened images that they were seeing allowed for the deduction of this information. After one of the team members, Aaron, removed his drill bit from the barrier caused by the mesa, the 33 MHz signal on the spectrum analyzer reverted to its usual state. On the other hand, the signal would be amplified further anytime it came into contact with whatever is inside the hole. This would occur whenever the signal. As its power increased, it started disseminating its information to people all across the world. They surmised that something was concealed there as a result of the fact that their attempts to drill through it were ineffective. They were able to hear the high-pitched sound that the object was producing. They became aware that their force had risen to 8,000 pounds. They reported that they could barely see it spinning, which may indicate that something broke off or that it was spinning on a surface that was too smooth. A period of time occurred before it was formally recognized that they had reached the end of their journey. This is incredibly exciting information since it shows that the GPR data is accurate and that there is something truly special inside. They reasoned that getting there was the only way to find out what it was. They knew they were heading in the proper direction, but GPR data couldn't tell them how far south or north the route went. No amount of pressure, even 8,000 pounds, was able to move it. You should not have to shoulder all of it. They couldn't fathom what difficulty might be so great as to cause the drill to fight back. Incredulous at the nature of this energy, they couldn't stop puzzling over it. After they had finished drilling, they used a vacuum to remove all of the debris from the hole they had produced in the mesa after they had finished drilling. As a result, it was feasible to investigate the booty in search of hints as to the nature of the object that had the shape of a dome. In the meantime, Aaron began to pull back on the drill bit so that they could examine any damage that may have been caused to it. as a result of grinding away at the enormous unbreakable item for such a prolonged period of time. They observed that the drill continued to function normally even though they were applying an enormous amount of force to it. You would think that after grinding against something for a half an hour, it would have at least dulled the sharpness of whatever it was grinding against. It ought to have become heated, or at the absolute least, worn it down to a thickness that was consistent throughout. The drill bit worked on the top of the dome-shaped oddity that was located inside the mesa for a considerable amount of time, but the structure showed no signs of being damaged. It appeared as though it had been spinning on a force field that was both invisible and free of friction. That seems just like something that might be found in a sci-fi book right now. It was utterly beyond my ability to comprehend. Therefore, the drill squad just disposed of all that they had accumulated by throwing it away. There are likely some topics on which all of the residents of Skinwalker Ranch may reach a consensus, despite the fact that the legends told by the inhabitants of the area may have evolved slightly over time. The most striking aspect is the resolute belief that what they are seeing is the genuine article. This viewpoint is held by a sizable segment of the resident population in the area. Since the 1950s, there have been hundreds of reports of unidentified flying objects, UFOs, and other unexplained happenings in the Uinta Basin. Many of these reports came from Skinwalker. Eyewitnesses have reported seeing odd lights in the sky around the ranch. Several of the lights appear to have the shape of what appears to be a gateway or doorway in several of the reports. There have been reports of people who claim to have seen enormous UFOs in the sky. In addition, cattle are frequently mutilated, and some people assert that they have witnessed cows that appeared to have been struck by lightning but did not have any burn marks on the ground nearby. When one group returned to their car after a night spent searching for alien ship in the desert, they discovered that it had been moved without any tire tracks having been left behind in the sand. Perhaps the most unsettling part of the narrative is about a group of History Channel production assistants who are obligated to purchase coffee for Dragon every day. Do not forget to subscribe and turn on post notification to be notified immediately on the next post. In 2016, Bigelow sold the property to a bidder who demanded anonymity for a lengthy 4 years. In 2020, a Utah real estate mogul named Brandon Fugel claimed to be the ranch's mysterious owner and announced that the History Channel would be filming a reality TV show there titled The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch. The show follows Fugel as he tries to utilize scientific methods to figure out what's going on at the house. Fugel wants to find solutions to the problems that have perplexed him and countless others. He has a team of experts helping him out who are well versed in many different branches of science, including a man dubbed Dragon. Reality television wasn't nearly as popular in 1996 as it is now, so if it sounds a lot like Nid-Sci, that's because it is. Like the countless researchers who came before them, the current residents of Skinwalker Ranch have discovered more mysteries than solutions. Why does it seem that there's always something wrong with the ranch's electricity? How come so many locals have complained of mysterious illnesses? Why does the strange, unsettling feeling they have at the ranch seem to follow them back home? Why would a grown man be given the moniker Dragon? Is that a moniker he gave himself? Does he demand that everyone in his group constantly refer to him as Dragon? This situation is currently being looked into at this time. Shocking! Something brand new has been found by scientists. Are you curious? Click the next video to watch.